Hey there, welcome to the Leveling Lodge. A couple things I wanted to mention before the video starts. The recipe is going to be in the description down below, and I used an assortment of a lot of different kinds of peppers, but you can really use any as long as they're about medium size. So I'd recommend sticking with mostly jalapenos and serranos, maybe a habanero or a ghost pepper even if you want to really kick up the heat, as I did in this video. But that's about it. Please enjoy, and thank you for watching. Hello everyone, welcome to the Leveling Lodge. We're coming up on the fall season and I've got a lot of extra hot peppers, so today I thought I'd show you one of the favorite recipes I use to turn them all into a hot sauce. Today I'm using an assortment of peppers. I've got my lunchbox snacking peppers, not hot at all. These are either Thai chilies or Tabascos. I honestly can't remember which one, but either way they've got a real nice kick, a real peppery kind of heat. These are classic serranos up here, mixed in, I think a couple of these are jalapenos as well, like this thicker guy right over here. And then I've got 2 peach habaneros as well to really kick the heat up. As always, when you're dealing with really hot peppers, I recommend wearing gloves. And then I've got my Scoville scale back here just so we can see where they rank on this fun thing. So I've got the serranos right here. In my experience, I swear serranos bite harder than this, but this is their unofficial rating. And then we've got the habaneros up here. I believe the peach habanero is somewhere around here. Regular habaneros are a little less, but still, once you're up in this range, it all hurts the same in my opinion, aside from this Carolina Reapers. I don't have any of these this time because those really do hurt quite a bit. But yeah, I've got these stemmed and rinsed, and we're going to be cooking them up in the pan next to prepare them for the hot sauce. All right, now I'm going to be using a non-stick pan with olive oil. My olive oil, we have a specialty store near me, so I'm using ginger and black garlic infused olive oil just for a little added flavor. You're going to use 2 tablespoons. So I've got my colorful measurings right here. So we get 1 tablespoon. Just drizzle it around the pan. I don't think this is something you need to be super precise with. To tell you the truth, a lot of the times I just kind of eyeball it until the pan looks good and covered on the bottom. I just want to make sure there's plenty of oil in it for the peppers to slide around in. Alright, so we've added that. Then we'll want to dump in our peppers. Once the peppers are in there, I stir them around a little bit, and then we will add 1 cup of chopped onion. I just like to use 1 small to medium onion. I think that's about a cup. Chopped it up here, nice white one, and then 4 cloves of garlic go in as well. So this all gets added in. There we go. And then you'll want to set this to about medium high. Then you'll want to stir and kind of saute this for 5 to 10 minutes while the peppers soften and blacken up. Alright, so now that some time has passed, I think it's been about 3 to 4 minutes. Again, none of this is super strict, but you can see they're starting to kind of soften up, turn a little bit light brown on the side. It's more visible on the green peppers than it is on the orange and red peppers, obviously. This is what you're waiting for. You can hear it kind of start to pop. So we're going to keep it going like this, let them really start to soften up and shrivel, and then they'll be ready for the next step, which is going to be transferring them to a saucepan. I like to really kind of let them sit still for a bit and start to sizzle and pop, just stirring them occasionally. I don't like to over stir them just because I feel like it takes longer once you start moving them around. They don't get that heat concentration the same way. Personal preference, but I like to wait for them to start popping and then stir them around. As you can see, they're starting to really soften up really nicely. This one's really blistering quite well, and that's what you want to see for hot sauce. Alright, if you'll notice, since I don't do a lot of stirring or a lot of over flipping, you'll start to notice some of them are looking pretty good because they have been flipped naturally while you're stirring them, and others, like this one right here, they still look kind of smooth on that side. So those are the ones you just want to keep an eye on and try your best to flip, like that. And then on that other side, you'll see that blistering kind of brown softening look. Okay, once they're looking like this, you can see they've got the nice char on them and they're really starting to soften up. They're ready to be transferred into the saucepan where they will soften up more. So I will now transfer them there. Turn the heat off on that burner, and then I'm gonna move to this smaller burner right here. Let me point you down so you can see. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna add 1 cup of water and bring this up to a boil. So I'm gonna put it on high to get it boiling. As you can see, they're looking nice and soft. Once this is brought up to a boil, we're gonna bring it right back down to a simmer and let it simmer for 10 to 15 minutes. All right, that only took about a minute or two before I'm seeing signs of it coming up to a boil. I like to let it boil kind of obviously before I bring it back down to a simmer. And then I like to stir it again too. I like to go until the boil can kind of push through your stirring. Stirring will reset the boil. Once you're stirring and it's still kind of boiling or immediately returning to a boil, that's when I lower it down to simmer. Yeah, so right here. So now I'm going to lower it down to about a 2 on my stove and then let it simmer for 10 to 15 minutes. All right, after it's been simmering for about 10 to 15 minutes, you're gonna wanna add your preferred spices. The recipe calls for ginger, tomatillos, and some sugar. However, I like it to go a more savory direction rather than kind of that bright and sugary one. So what I'm gonna be adding is a pinch of cumin and some coriander. So here we go, literally just a pinch of cumin. And then a small pinch of coriander as well. There we go. Once that's in there, we'll stir it around a bit more. As you can see, the peppers are really softening up quite nicely. They really do kind of squish down. There's not as much resistance. Still got a little bit of ways to go, but we are going to resume simmering for another 10 to 15 minutes once the spices are all mixed up nice and well. All right, it's been about 5 more minutes. I'm gonna turn the heat up a little bit more to get the simmer kind of going a bit stronger. We're really just trying to get some of this excess water to cook off. If it doesn't, no big deal, but that's what the recipe recommends, and that will just kind of make it a less watery sauce and more richer, especially with those spices I added. The cumin and the coriander really give for a more earthy feel, and that's the vibe I'm going for with this sauce. Just a nice variety, earthy, savory kind of hot sauce. All right, it's been another 15 minutes. I don't think the water's changed too much, but I'm liking what I'm seeing. It's about the level that I like to use in my hot sauce. So what I'm gonna do now is just turn off the stove. Go. And then I'm just gonna let it kind of cool for a bit before we transfer it to our blender. All right, it's been cooling for a minute. I'm gonna transfer it into my blender. I like to use blenders like these because once it's all blended up in this cup, you can just keep the lid on or pop a separate lid on if you have it and just pop it right in the fridge. So, move it over here. And then I'm gonna scoop it out. It's the only thing with cups like these. It's a bit difficult to get it in sometimes. Once we've got this ready, still a little hot, make sure you let it cool. This is still kind of hot, but that's all right. We're going to add 1 cup of white vinegar. So I'll balance out that temperature as well. So 1 cup of white vinegar. And then 3 tablespoons of lime juice. smells good. One. And this is still to give it some of that acidity feel. 2. And 3. Finally, we'll be adding 1 teaspoon of salt, and then we'll be good to go. Secure my blender lid, make sure it's on there nice and tight, and then I like to give it a little bit of a shake to stir everything up first. It's probably not necessary. Again, just something I like to do. Oops. And then make sure the blender is locked, and we'll blend it up. All right. It's nice and blended. When you go to remove this lid after blending it, especially if it's still warm, make sure your face is not near the top of it. 1, sometimes it gets pressurized and kind of sprays out, but 2, the fumes from these really hot peppers and the spice levels will shoot into the air after being blended, and it will make you sneeze and cough and just be an unpleasant time if your face is right above it. So I like to leave it over here and open it. There you go, you heard some of that little puff. There we go. The next step is going to be to let it cool and then get it ready for tasting. Actually, I am going to sneak a little taste of it now to see how it turned out. I expect this to be very spicy because of those habaneros. Let me just make sure. Oh yeah, that's well blended. Okay. There we go. Oh yeah. Yes, that is going to be very delicious, especially after it cools, but the habaneros really do pack a heavy punch. For this one, I am just going to let it cool outside of the fridge first. I normally am pretty lazy. I just pop them right in the fridge. However, there is always the risk that when you do that, when you go to open it, in my experience, sometimes they'll pressurize kind of weird and they'll just burst everywhere right when you go to open it. So this one, I'm going to let it cool out first and then pop it in. You can also strain it if you like. I like kind of a chunkier hot sauce, or I like it when they have kind of remnants of the pepper skins in them. I think it just adds some texture that I enjoy, but you can strain it through a sieve and get that out of there if you're not interested in it. Other than that, that's the whole process. So this is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to leave a comment if you have any suggestions or if I flubbed anything and you want to call me out on it. I really appreciate it anyway. Thank you for stopping by and watching, and have a great rest of your day and enjoy. All right, it's been about 5 days and I've been letting it sit in the fridge since I cooked it up. As you can see, I kept it in the original blender bottle. I will be putting this into a glass mason jar later. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. You might see some separation at the bottom of whatever jar you use to stir it or store it. And that's normal. You'll want to stir it if you want to get rid of that look and kind of keep the flavors mixed together, but it doesn't affect anything. So I've dipped my spoon here and we're going to give it a taste and see how it came out. Oh yeah, it's got a it's got a nice kick to it. Woo. All right, the habaneros, peach habaneros, are really delicious. If you can get past the flavor, they have kind of a chocolatey flavor to them, and that plays well into that earthy flavor that I was mentioning earlier. It's not very citrusy or acidity. I don't know. It's not very citrus heavy. Since we left out some of the ginger and stuff, I much prefer it this way though. I think this would be a great addition to tacos. You can even eat this with chips, honestly. Yeah, this came out really well. I hope your results were just as good, and drop a comment below. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching, and have a great rest of your day.